Something is moving on your face right now. It has 8 legs, it eats your dead skin, and it comes out at night to find a mate. That's just number 1 on this list. Your body is running processes right now that nobody warned you about. Not your doctor, not your biology teacher, not anyone. Things that are measurable, documented, and genuinely difficult to stop thinking about once you know them. You've been living inside this body your entire life. You assumed you understood the basics. You didn't. Here's what's actually going on. Your skeleton is being eaten right now, not by infection, not by disease, by your own body, on purpose, on a schedule it's set without ever consulting you. Deep inside every bone you have, specialized cells called osteoclasts are dissolving your skeletal tissue. They drill into the bone matrix, release acid, and liquefy it from the inside. Then a second population of cells moves in behind them to rebuild what was just destroyed. Your skeleton is running a continuous demolition and reconstruction project, and you have zero influence over the timeline. The osteoclasts are specialized for this. They identify old or damaged bone tissue, attach to the surface, create a sealed acidic environment, and dissolve it completely. The process takes about 3 weeks per site. Then the osteoblasts arrive, lay down new collagen, and mineralize it into fresh bone. Your body is running this cycle at hundreds of sites simultaneously, right now, without pause. About 10% of your entire skeleton is replaced every single year. That means the bones you had a decade ago no longer exist. You're not the same person structurally. The rib cage you had in childhood has been completely dissolved and rebuilt several times over. You've been renovated without a single moment of downtime, without a scar, and without anyone asking you. The technical name is bone remodeling. It sounds like maintenance. What it actually describes is your body deciding that your bones are temporary and quietly acting on that belief around the clock. The osteoclasts don't submit a work order. They find tissue, mark it for destruction, and dissolve it. The rebuilding that follows is the only thing standing between you and structural collapse. When the system tips out of balance, more destruction than reconstruction, the bones hollow out silently. This can progress for 10, 15, 20 years before a single symptom appears. Your skeleton could be failing its own maintenance cycle right now. Your body has no alert system for this. The foreman walked off the job, the work is still happening, and nobody is checking the math. Your body also cannot tell you accurately where something is hurting. It has a wiring fault built into the design, and it has been there since before you were born. When pain signals travel through your nervous system, they share pathways. Multiple organs run their signals through the same cables. Your brain receives the incoming data, attempts to trace it back to a source, and frequently assigns it to the completely wrong location. This is called referred pain, and it happens inside every human nervous system on the planet. Your heart has no dedicated pain fibers of its own. When it's in distress, it routes the signal through the pathways belonging to your left arm and your jaw. A heart attack can present as a toothache, a sore elbow, or an ache between the shoulder blades. Your brain receives the emergency signal, checks its internal map, and sends you to inspect the wrong room entirely. By the time you work out the actual source, the window for straightforward treatment may be considerably smaller. Your liver complains through your right shoulder. Your kidneys send distress signals to your lower back. Your diaphragm files its emergency reports in your neck. Your body spans roughly 1.7 square meters of surface area, operates a nervous system containing billions of signaling cells, and still cannot reliably tell you where something is going wrong. The wiring was never precise enough for that level of accuracy. There is no recalibration, no patch for this. Your nervous system will keep misrouting signals for the rest of your life. You will keep pressing your shoulder and wondering about your neck, while the actual source of the problem sits quietly in a completely different location. Your body's internal alarm system is a telephone network where every call gets transferred to the wrong extension. Right now, your body is also shedding itself. Quietly, continuously, at a volume that becomes genuinely difficult to sit with once you do the math. Every hour you lose between 30,000 and 40,000 dead skin cells. The outermost layer of your skin, the part the world sees, the part you moisturize and protect, is entirely dead. It has a clinical name, the stratum corneum. It is not alive. It is a compressed sheet of deceased cells that your body manufactures in deeper layers and slowly pushes toward the surface, where it flakes off into the environment. You replace your complete outer skin layer every 2 to 4 weeks. The skin you were born in is gone. You've cycled through dozens of complete outer surfaces since then, and the process has never paused once. The version of you that exists on the outside right now is a recently assembled construction. The version before that is on your couch. Roughly 80 to 90% of the dust in your home is human skin. That thin gray layer on a shelf, the particulate matter floating through the air when someone opens a door, the sediment settling on every horizontal surface. Most of it is the people who live there. You are breathing it right now. Statistically, it's mostly yours. The cells being produced in your skin's lower layers are genuinely alive when they start. They're pushed upward by the new cells forming beneath them, slowly dying as they rise, flattening and hardening into the sheet you're currently wearing on your face. By the time they reach the surface and become the version of you that the world interacts with, they have already been dead for days. Your exterior self is a layer of processed remains. Every surface you've ever touched carries traces of you. Every room you've spent significant time in contains your cells in the air and on the floor. Your skin has been conducting a slow, continuous dispersal operation your entire life, leaving microscopic evidence of your presence everywhere you've ever been. You are already distributed across more locations than you will ever visit. Your gut has its own nervous system. It doesn't report to your brain. It doesn't wait for instructions. It runs its own operation down there, independently, and it has been doing this since before you were born. The enteric nervous system is a dense web of neurons wrapped around your intestines. It contains between 100 and 500 million nerve cells, more than your spinal cord. It manages blood flow, enzyme release, muscle contractions, and the entire mechanical process of digestion without sending a single request upstairs. Your brain could be completely disconnected from it, and your gut would keep working. It has everything it needs. Your gut brain and your head brain do communicate, but the ratio is not what you'd expect. About 90% of the signals traveling between them go upward, from gut to head, not the other way around. Your gut is mostly talking. Your head is mostly listening. The enteric nervous system is not a subordinate. It is a parallel government operating below the diaphragm, issuing directives your head only hears about after the fact. 90% of your body's serotonin is produced down there, not in your brain, in your intestines, the chemical most associated with your emotional stability, your sense of well-being, your baseline mood. The factory is in your gut. Trillions of microorganisms live in that environment, and they influence the output. The bacteria in your digestive system are manufacturing chemicals that determine how you feel today. They are doing this right now. You have never met them, and you had no say in what species moved in. When you feel nervous and your stomach drops, that's not a metaphor. Your gut brain detected the threat first and sent the signal upward. Your head received it after the fact. Your gut feelings are real neurological events generated by a system that doesn't need permission to act. The butterflies aren't in your head. Your head is just the last to know. Your brain will also destroy itself to make a point. When you skip a meal, your brain doesn't simply wait. It goes to work immediately, using its own cellular components as fuel and as messaging material. Neurons in the hunger signaling regions begin a process called autophagy. They start digesting their own internal parts to generate energy and to amplify the distress signal they're transmitting. The word means self-eating. That is exactly what it describes. These hunger neurons consume pieces of themselves. They break down their own organelles, dissolve the components, and use the byproducts to crank up the hunger signal they're sending through your system. They are destroying themselves to make sure you feel hungrier faster. The mechanism works as intended. The part nobody tends to mention is that your brain is inflicting structural damage on itself to deliver a message about a sandwich. Your brain cells have internal recycling systems called lysosomes. These structures identify old, damaged, or currently unnecessary components and dissolve them. Under normal conditions, this is routine maintenance. Under food deprivation, these recycling centers accelerate dramatically. Thousands of your brain cells are running this process at elevated intensity right now, regardless of when you last ate, because the system never fully powers down. The self-eating continues even when you're full. It's a background operation. Autophagy runs continuously in your brain tissue, always identifying something to dissolve, always finding components to reclaim. Your consciousness is built on infrastructure that is permanently in the process of eating itself. The maintenance and the destruction are the same process. If autophagy slows down significantly, cellular debris accumulates. Damaged proteins aggregate. Dysfunctional components pile up without being cleared. Several serious neurological conditions are associated with autophagy failure. Your brain depends on its own capacity for self-destruction to remain functional. Stop the self-eating, and things go wrong considerably faster than most people would want to think about. Your brain also fabricates physical sensations with no external source and delivers them to your body with full confidence. It's called phantom vibration syndrome. Up to 90% of people who regularly carry a phone report feeling their phone vibrate when it hasn't. The sensation is indistinguishable from an actual notification. There is no vibration. Your brain manufactured it, routed it through your peripheral nervous system, and delivered it to your hip or thigh as a genuine tactile experience. You felt something that did not happen. Your brain has built a detection template. Repeated exposure to phone vibrations caused your nervous system to develop a pattern it now expects to encounter. Any incoming signal that vaguely resembles that pattern, a muscle twitch, fabric shifting, air movement, gets processed as a match and forwarded to your conscious awareness as a confirmed buzz. The filtering system overcorrects. It would rather report a false positive than miss a real one. Changing where you keep the phone does not fix this. Your nervous system simply recalibrates the phantom sensation to the new location and continues. Some people feel ghost vibrations in areas of the body where they have never kept a phone at all. Your brain is generating fake physical events in locations it selected. The spam is coming from inside the building. The anxiety vibration link compounds it further. The more you check your phone, the more your nervous system treats notification detection as a high-priority task. The more urgently your brain monitors for the signal, the more readily it reports false positives. Your hypervigilance is feeding the hallucination. You trained your own nervous system to lie to you, and the training is permanent. Now consider what your brain does when it encounters something genuinely familiar. Not something alarming or threatening. Something you know completely. A face, a word, a room you've occupied for years, a sentence you have written 100 times. That is exactly when your brain's recognition system decides to stop working. The more familiar something is, the more completely your brain can lose its grip on it. The failure arrives without warning and always targets what you know best. Write your own name 30 times in a row and watch what happens to it. Around the 20th repetition, something shifts. The letters stop assembling into meaning. They become shapes, arbitrary marks that your brain has suddenly decided to treat as foreign input. The word you have written, spoken, and heard responding to your entire life becomes unfamiliar. This is called semantic satiation, and it takes approximately 90 seconds of repetition to completely dismantle a concept you have spent decades building. Your brain's recognition system operates through pattern activation. Every time you access a familiar concept, the same neural pathway fires. At high enough repetition within a short window, the pathway suppresses its own output. A dampening response designed to filter out monotonous background signals. The system cannot distinguish between noise and meaning. It applies the suppression equally to both. The word you wrote 22 times just became indistinguishable from the hum of a refrigerator, and your brain treated it accordingly. The effect is not limited to words. Faces. Your own bedroom after you've been staring at it too long. A piece of music so familiar you've stopped hearing it. Your own handwriting, examined long enough, becomes marks you don't recognize as yours. Familiarity is not protection from this process. Familiarity is the exact prerequisite. Your brain can only lose its grip on things it knows well enough to have automated. Musicians experience this mid-performance. A piece they have played thousands of times suddenly feels foreign without warning. The fingers are still moving correctly because the muscle memory is intact. The certainty that they know what they're doing has briefly vacated the room. They play through the gap and wait for it to return. Most of the time it does. What happens in the gap does not have a comfortable name. Your own face can trigger this. The specific arrangement of features you have studied every single day of your entire life becomes, for a period of seconds, an arrangement you cannot quite confirm as yours. You register it as a face. The certainty that it is your face has momentarily suspended. The information hasn't been lost. The recognition pathway has dampened itself on the most familiar input you have. Then it reboots, and it is your face again, and the preceding seconds become difficult to describe to anyone who hasn't experienced them. Right now, while you have been reading this, something has been moving across your face. They are called Demodex mites. They are arachnids, 8-legged relatives of spiders, and they live permanently inside your eyelash follicles. Not as a temporary infestation, not as a condition requiring treatment, as standard residents. An estimated 80% of adults carry an active population right now. By the time you reach 60, that figure approaches 100%. Every follicle on your eyelids will eventually be occupied. Dermatologists who study them do not consider this unusual. They consider it a standard feature of the adult human face. During daylight hours, they remain anchored inside the follicle shaft, positioned headfirst, feeding on the sebum and dead skin cells your skin continuously produces. They are sedentary during the day, silent. They generate no symptoms your nervous system considers worth flagging. Your immune system has assessed them and filed them under acceptable. They are present, they are feeding, and your body has decided this is not information you need. At night, when your face goes still and the room goes dark, they emerge. The adults exit the follicle openings and move across the surface of your eyelids and face. They are searching for mates. Your sleeping face is the terrain they navigate. Your follicle openings are the landmarks they move between. They travel with directional purpose, completely indifferent to your presence, treating the geography of your eyelashes as their entire operational world. This is happening to you tonight. It happened last night. It will happen every night for the rest of your life. They mate on the surface of your skin. The females return to the follicle and deposit their eggs inside the shaft. The eggs hatch. The larvae develop in the same follicle where they were conceived. The mites produce no waste during their lives. They store all metabolic byproducts internally across their entire lifespan. When they die, their bodies decompose in place inside the follicle, releasing everything they accumulated. The follicle serves simultaneously as their birthplace, their feeding ground, their mating territory, and their grave. You cannot remove them. Soap and water does not dislodge Demodex. They are too small and anchored too deeply for standard hygiene to reach. There are medicated treatments that reduce severely elevated populations. But for the ordinary colony every adult human hosts, no routine removal method exists. The mites currently living in your follicles will complete their full life cycle inside them. New mites will follow. The succession is continuous and your body has never registered an objection. The occasional faint tickle near your eye, the sensation at the edge of your lash line that appears and disappears without apparent cause. There is a reasonable probability that those are movement. The mites are approximately 0.3 millimeters in length. Too small to see without magnification, not too small to generate a detectable tactile signal when moving across skin. You have been feeling them for years and attributing the sensation to something else entirely. Your body is not a sealed unit. It is a shared environment. It hosts organisms that arrived without your consent, runs parallel systems that report to nobody, misfires its own emergency signals, and periodically loses its grip on the things it knows best. It dissolves its own structure continuously in order to rebuild it. It decides what you feel and where you feel it, and whether what you feel corresponds to anything actually happening. This is not malfunction. This is standard operation. You have been living inside it your whole life, and most of it was never going to make it into the curriculum.